Welcome to Rad2, another daily reader for Reddit. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. Serious. If you could learn the honest truth behind any rumor or mystery from the course of human history, what secret would you like to unravel? I'd like to read the History of the World volumes that were destroyed at the Library of Alexandria. Edit. Thank you guys. My dad is the one responsible for this comment because I asked him some form this when I was a kid. He's been my history teacher throughout life. Oh my god, yes. I'm so curious about that. It's so depressing thinking about how much information was lost in that fire. I remember reading something that talked about the library being badly maintained and many books being rotten anyway. It was in disrepair long before it was sacked, burnt, whatever. When you consider that it had been around for 400 plus years, and that massive geopolitical changes had occurred, with it suffering greatly from both a massive lack of funding, along with serious brain drain, with both librarians and great minds leaving the area to settle elsewhere. It's not surprising that it slowly deteriorated. It was around longer than the United States, not just as a nation, but even as colonies. Given that timeline, it's amazing it even lasted that long. Estimates put the quantity of info at around 90,000 books worth, which is insane given the period of time and how much work creating and storing scrolls took. I like to know about the thousands of years of undocumented human history. I know there's just so much prehistory. I'd like to follow mankind from really early in our species' existence all the way until around their first few centuries CE. The one thing that fascinates me is how did wandering affect culture? That is, all our modern culture comes from people with borders. They may not be nation-states, but pick any direction and you'll either hit a natural obstacle like a mountain, or land controlled by other people. But there was a time when that wasn't true. For a few thousand years, if you didn't like where you were, you could just pack up, walk a few kilometers, and be the first person ever there. How did that affect their mindset? Did they have a god of new places? Did they have people who were specialized in scouting out potential places to move to? I believe it would be a result in searching for food or resources. After one place dries up, go to another, maybe chasing prey. Who the Isdal woman really was, what she was doing, how she ended up dead in such a remote valley in Bergen, Norway. No one has been able to identify her in 50 years. Edit. What's especially strange about this case is that she had about 8 different aliases which she used all over Europe, and then was found burned alive in the middle of a Norwegian valley. All eyewitness reports from people who crossed paths with her state that she stood out, and always seemed to be on high alert. I listened to a pretty good podcast on the Isdal woman which suggested she may have been an Israeli spy. I'd read about spying allegations before, but I thought they made an interesting case for her being Mossad. If you're interested, it's called Death in Ice Valley. I've never heard of her, so I had to look it up. Here's the Wikipedia link, en.m.wikipedia.org. I think it's pretty obvious she was a spy, but I'm going to guess Israeli, not German. I personally believe the theory of her being a spy. It feels like that's the most feasible explanation. The circumstances were just too weird. This or maybe some psychotic break. Edit. Screw mobile keyboard. I'd like to know which people were the pedophiles that were involved with Epstein. Prince Andrew, Harvey Weinstein, the Roman Polanski, Bill Clinton, or at least 4. Don't forget Donald Trump and Tony Blair, who are also, by all accounts, pedophiles. People lump Bill Gates in there even though the evidence against him literally is based on speculation or facts that are missing a great deal of context. Bill did business with Epstein. Bill did not like him, but was told it would be a good idea to work with him in fundraising because of Epstein's status and power. Bill was repulsed by Epstein. Just his overall attitude and personality. Bill flew on Epstein's jet to Miami, Florida, and it was confirmed that he was not aware the jet was owned by Epstein. I think it's more expected that she's gonna get killed, and then the internet will just meme about it. Jake Mack will make a video about it, and then 2 weeks later everyone goes back to doing their usual quarantine stuff. I'd volunteer to watch her if anybody needed to take a dump, but oddly my offer was turned down. The identity of the Zodiac killer, or if the dudes who escaped Alcatraz really survived. The Alcatraz escapees almost certainly made it. Contrary to popular beliefs, a raft was found, and there were reports of a stolen car in the area, one that was later seen being driven by 3 men. Even. Damn, I wasn't aware of that. I could see why that info would likely remain hidden from the public. Gotta keep Alcatraz impenetrable wall reputation. It's pretty legendary that those 3 men most likely pulled it off. Wasn't the identity of the Zodiac not like officially confirmed, but they were pretty sure it was that Lee guy, or at least what that investigative journalist found. On December 18th, I think it was, the Zodiac made a call to a housemate saying he was going to kill because it's his birthday. Then the birthday lined up with the Lee guy. Like Jack the Ripper and JFK assassination, it really depends on what evidence you want to use for your theory on the Zodiac's identity. Oh, I almost forgot about them. It'd have to go with the Alcatraz escapees. I've always wondered, kinda hoped they made it. Sounded like they were decent people who just made a few mistakes. Don't take my word for it, but I live in the town where the Anglin brothers were born. Apparently 2 unknown women, speculated to be the brothers cross-dressing, were at their mother's funeral. Now I wasn't alive at the time, but the person who told me was. Edit. Found some possible proof they did escape. Thanks to technology, a photo of them has been found. www.warp.com. I've heard this before, and also that other family members reported seeing the same 2 unidentified women at several family funerals whom they believed to be the brothers in drag. Edit. The women were only seen at the mother's funeral, not any others. My bad. However, Robert Anglin reported that 2 bearded strangers showed up to their father's funeral service, briefly, cried and left. The Mary Celeste. I believe that's the name. It was a U.S. merchant ship that was found completely abandoned floating in the ocean in the 1800s. I would also like to find out what happened to another ghost ship that was found with everyone frozen. There was a spilled barrel of alcohol in the ship. The lifeboats were missing, and a rope was trailing behind the ship. What happened is that the alcohol started evaporating, making it hard to breathe. So everyone left their stuff and went out on a lifeboat behind the ship to let it air out. Then the rope snapped and the ship went drifting away from the lifeboat. Wow, I just read about this and that sounds spot on. The Wikipedia article talks about the possibility of them getting in the boat to avoid danger on the ship, but also suggests it would be illogical to tie your boat to a sinking or burning ship. But if it was just fumes, then that would be a different case. Boy, would you be mad at the guy who tied the rope. It's a little disappointing when I've known about the mystery for years, and someone explains it in a way that makes perfect sense to my adult brain. There are a lot of really freaked up industrial accidents out there. For example, the confined spaces horror story. Low oxygen environment. Body passes out. Second guy goes to help. And a third. And before you know it, 3 funerals and a hard lesson learned. My workplace did a whole first aid training seminar together earlier this year, and the trainer really wanted us to role-play situations that would come up in our actual workplace. They had a bunch of the CPR dummies for everyone to share and had us walk into a room one at a time, where they were set up to see how we'd respond to individual scenarios so they could provide feedback. I walked into a room with all the dummies laid out on the floor ready for me to go from dummy to dummy, trying to get a reaction and then starting first aid based on what I thought was happening. I pretty much immediately went straight back out into the hallway and pantomimed calling 911. If there's 8 bodies laying unresponsive on the floor in my workplace with no noise in the hallway before approaching, then there's likely something seriously wrong with the air in the space. When I was a lifeguard instructor, I set up a scenario like this during training to teach them to use their brain. The students would take turns playing lifeguard while the rest were patrons. I would pick a person to be a victim and what kind of victim they were, and the lifeguard would have to scan the pool and watch until that person started drowning. My favorite scenario was when I had all of the patrons in the pool suddenly go limp all at their same time after swimming normally. 10 out of 10 lifeguard trainees jumped in and were electrocuted. D.B. Cooper, the hijacker that jumped from the jet plane with all that money, and what happened from then till now. He most likely died. They gave the serial number from all the bills given to him and none have been spent. The only ones found washer up on a river. The weather conditions were so bad and it was street night, so the chances are that he died. What happened to him isn't that mysterious. He almost certainly died of hypoxia and hypothermia on the way down. And his body either fell in the Columbia or deep enough in the forest that nobody happened onto it. What is mysterious is that none of his friends, family, or acquaintances have come forward with his identity. Nobody's employee disappeared one weekend and never came back. Nobody's husband, father walked out, only to show up on a profile sketch on the news a couple days later. No AWOL paratroopers matching the description. You'd think somebody who recognized him would at least write a book to make a quick buck. But no. Who was this guy, and where did he come from? What is mysterious is that none of his friends, family, or acquaintances have come forward with his identity to piggyback off this. There wasn't a missing persons report filed in any nearby state that matched Cooper's description. Gives some possibility that he survived. Well, I am sure thousands called in saying their employee or relative went missing, and maybe DB Cooper, he may be in that list, and he may be he definitely wasn't a paratrooper. The details of the Bronze Age collapse. We only know very generally what happened. Read 1177 by Eric Klein for details. But precious little specifics, especially who did what and why. Droughts, famines, revolts, piracy, population movement, trade collapse, etc. are all involved. Mycenae, Minoans, Troy, Hittites, Ugarites, etc. Every city from Greece to the Levant was burned down and every CIV collapsed. Egypt, Assyria and Babylonia didn't collapse but were severely weakened for centuries. Systems collapse. Basically, here's a really complex system that works really well to organize large-scale societies that are all partly dependent on each other, but it's a big Jenga tower. Too much goes wrong too quickly, so too many critical components fail at once. When that happens, you can't repair the damaged parts faster than they fall apart, so the whole system collapses in on itself and the region goes to hell in a handbasket. Oh boy, the US may want to pay attention. Right. The fact that large and successful civilizations have all collapsed at some point in time, over and over again, reminds us we are just a blip in history repeating itself. No idea why, but I'm just so interested in finding Genghis Khan's grave. The brutal extent they went through to keep it secret is truly messed up. I heard an interesting conspiracy theory once. Perhaps Genghis Khan actually had a simple cremation and the legend of his grand burial was used to keep his empire hungry for conquest and glory. Or those in charge pocketed the money for his grand burial and came up with that story after killing all the witnesses. Supposedly his grandson, also a great conqueror, has an inscription in his tomb that if anyone opened his tomb it would unleash great evil in their world. A few days after Russian archaeologist opened it, WW2 broke out. Be careful what you wish for. Holy crap, you got a link for that. I'm not superstitious, but that would be freaking nuts. Slight correction, he wasn't his grandson but was a direct descendant. I believe the legend is referred to as the Curse of Tamerlane. Did they close the tomb? They reopened it in 2020 apparently. Where the cool S originated from and why did it spread to so many places? It's kind of weird to me that it's so well known. I know what you are talking about in this vague comment. You should watch the video by Lemino titled The Universal S. Link for the lazy, www.youtube.com. My man. Slow down. Where are the missing Sodder children? What happened at Dire Love Pass? And does the ivory-billed woodpecker still exist? Reading creepy Wikipedia pages about missing children and stuff is not a good thing to depot before bed. Read a few books on the Dire Love Pass incident. Most likely scenario seems to be a Carmen Vortex Street. They are super rare, but the conditions in the Dire Love Pass are perfect for it. It would have created infrasound that would have scared and disoriented the hikers enough to flee the tent. Or it could just be aliens. Woman shrugging, medium skin tone. This seems really interesting. How would a vortex street cause the trauma to their bodies though? I personally believe the katabatic wind theory, where barbaric wind, freezing wind moving at hurricane force speeds, collapsed the tent, forcing them to cut it open from the inside. They then ran for the woods for cover. 3 died on the way there. 2 managed to start a fire but died before they could get heated up, resulting in burns, and the remaining 4 were able to build igloo-like forts in a nearby ditch, which unfortunately collapsed, killing the rest. Edit. Thank you for the gold. Didn't they flee the tent in basically rags? Some even without shoes. The urgency would need to be extreme to abandon your shoes in that weather. Paradoxical undressing is likely the cause of this. It's when you are so cold, you feel burning hot. Your blood comes to the surface of your skin as a last-ditch effort to keep you warm. And you have the urge to strip since you feel like you're burning up. Wow, I had no clue that my body had that much control over things like blood. I always thought it was an automatic, unchangeable and unstoppable, unless you died, process. My body has all kinds of superpowers that I keep finding about and it's great. I just want my grandma's recipes. The secret ingredient, love. What happened to Shelley Miscavige? She just went missing, while the Church of Scientology claims that she's working there. I don't believe it. Same people that believe in Xenu and fricking soul catchers. She's definitely in the hole. And she may be brainwashed enough to feel that she deserves to be in there. Where is all of the missing art the Nazis looted during World War II? More than likely. What are the hundreds of locations of the art? This is going to sound like a conspiracy theory. Swiss bank vaults used as collateral by the Nazis. When the Third Reich was defeated and collapsed, the Swiss would have grossly violated their quote-unquote neutrality if they revealed they had the stuff. They couldn't sell it openly. And there weren't exactly factions friendly to the idea of paying for Europe's stolen masterpieces. My argument for the Swiss having them is based in their admittance that they dealt in gold and what would today be considered war profiteering. It is likely, therefore, that the art was indeed destroyed to absolve those who possessed them of guilt and/or responsibility. Piles of ash in collapsed caves probably. That's depressing. Where is the Amber Room? Either I'm stupid or I'm stupid. What's the Amber Room? It was an incredible room in St. Petersburg created entirely out of amber. Value was beyond worth. It was simply priceless, nothing like it on Earth. When the Nazis invaded, they looted the Amber Room, systematically dismantling the entire thing, storing it away, and transporting it towards Germany, like they did with all the other fine art they could get their hands on. In 1998, the family of a German soldier produced a few small decorative pieces from a mosaic in the room, which the soldier supposedly pocketed at the time. Other than those fragments, no evidence of the room has ever been seen again. There is actually a theory that it was shipped to my home village and brought underground. We had an ammunition factory which exploded at the end of the war. Everything was underground, so the whole facility was flooded with water and with it also thousands of art pieces and documents. One night before that happened, a train, don't know if it was an armored one or not, arrived and soldiers were ordered to put mysterious boxes underground. The old people in my village still think it was the Amber Room. What's the name of your village? What is inside the Vatican secret archives? Well, that is probably a lot considering its age. I don't think they're big on considering age. Thanks for watching Rad2. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. If you like these videos, check out the original Rad channel.